Tell 'em Tribe Tarot. Daily readings for my tribe. Subscribe to my channel.
Peace, Gemini. I am Cherokee with Tell 'em Tribe Tarot, coming to you with another reading. Check in and say hello to a goddess. Drop a comment to say hello. Turn on post notifications if you haven't already done so. I have to remind y'all so you don't miss my messages. And subscribe to my channel. I got the vibes. Share the video to share the wealth. And let's get into your reading. All right, so we're going to ask our spirit guides, beautiful angels, tarot cards, ancestors, what is the message for Gemini? I want to tap into what you were supposed to learn from your last relationship, Gemini. What was the lesson that you had to learn from your last relationship? The Six of Pentacles. So I feel like you had to learn a few lessons. It wasn't just like one general lesson. You had to learn that when you meet someone and they show you the world in what seems like a minute and it seems too good to be true, you have to challenge yourself to ask questions. I feel like what you didn't know before your last relationship, or what you didn't realize what you've done, is that you did not ask significant questions when you were bothered about certain things, because you hoped that eventually it would make sense to you. Because you wanted to be patient and you didn't want anyone or your person to feel as if you were trying to back them in a corner. So I feel like you may have put your feelings on the back burner to keep the peace, or in the name of being patient. I feel like what you also learned is that having your own is important, because I feel like you gave up your independence again to this King of Wands energy to make them feel superior. And sometimes you gave up your voice so that the environment was peaceful. I feel like you changed a lot because of this connection, and I don't think you changed in a way that you thought you would when you first embarked on this connection. I think that you outgrew immature responses, things that didn't sit right with you. I feel like you learned that by communicating effectively, that was way more effective than stonewalling your person to make them have to probe you to figure out what was on your mind. Because there were some things that you've done that you have to take responsibility for. You know, I feel like you got unmotivated and you wanted things to happen quickly on your time. And I feel like because you did know your worth, and you made your worth known, like you would say, I know my worth, you know, I know what I have to offer. And if you say you're gonna match that, I expect you to take the lead on things. But because knowing your worth is half the battle, enforcing your worth is the other half of the battle, that's where things may have fallen short. I feel like you learned how to balance your emotions. I feel like you learned how to pull back when you know you were doing too much. And when things didn't make sense to you, you started to question things because you felt that you had the right to. So I feel like you learned what your limitations were, because you had this idea that if you love someone, you have no limits to what you would do for them. And while that is true in certain rights, it's not true in every circumstance when you are getting manipulated. But I also feel like the things that you were experiencing in this relationship, some of the times were the things that you were projecting. I feel like you were hiding your thoughts. I feel like you were hiding things like, I feel like you were hiding a part of your personality. And with time, you blocked out a portion of you that wanted to do certain things in life to accommodate this person. So I feel like in general, you just learn how to become. You learn how to grow even as you were by someone's side and them not agreeing with every single thing that you had going on. And the issue with this is that with this Four of Swords in reverse, you never really had the time to heal from your connection before this connection. So you went into this situation with baggage just as much as the other person did. And you just wanted them to pick up the slack and take on the emotional burden of what you were bringing to the relationship, and sometimes going as far as to blaming them. So it was like two peas in a pod. You were reflecting each other like children. You also learned how to pause, and you learn how to listen actively, which is something you're still learning how to do, Gemini. But I feel like in this situation, you never really got a chance to really speak up the way you would want to because you were afraid that you would offend your person. I also feel that you learn how to connect with family because you may not have a close-knit relationship with your family, and this person brought you into their family and they introduced you to family and what it looks like to be around people who have a connection where they meet up on the weekends, have family reunions, have a group chat for the family, do things on a regular. You learn the importance of family because I feel like, Gemini, you probably didn't have a great example of what a family network would look like. So this past partnership with your ex wasn't all bad. I'm taking my immunity shot with ginger and cayenne pepper, but it's so good. Okay, sorry about that. That was a commercial break. I feel like you just learned how to be a better significant other. And now what you want is time to heal. I feel like you just want to learn how to be you on your own. You want to sacrifice anything that would mean putting a strain on your peace for your growth sake. I feel like all you want at this time is to continue to grow and understand you individually. And that's why this Hanged One card is here. Because you are not over. Now you have two exes to get over. And I feel like you use one relationship to get over the other with this King of Wands in reverse. It's like you were backtracking and you ended up attracting the same type of person from before. But this one was probably more attractive. This one probably had more money. Or this one just gave the impression that they were an upgrade. When in actuality, they were just a name brand version of the ex before. I'm starting to understand our connection. And I feel like the person that you were messing with in the past, like your last relationship that taught you all of these lessons, they are going through their own awakening as well. And I feel like they want to understand themselves more, but they are conflicted because they didn't really have the inclination to want to do so until they met you. My life is not together as it seems. They said, and you remember now, I said, you came into this last relationship with baggage, right? And this new person was like an upgraded person of the person before. So you thought everything was sweet. You thought you were healing in a way that was conducive to a better relationship. And you put your healing on pause because this person's life seemed so well put together. And they showed you pieces of their life. When they introduced you to family, when they introduce you to some of their children, if they have children, or to their mom or to their father, if they're still here, or to close people that surround them all the time, and made you feel that close-knit feeling of family that you were missing. So you were like, well, this has to be what I needed because I've never had this before with anyone else. I want to feel that way again. This person is remorseful about the disconnect, but they are not connected to your soul. They are connected to the feeling that you gave them. So I feel what you learned and are learning from this connection is how to truly value yourself, because saying that you value yourself and actually valuing yourself are two different things. I feel like you pull and play tug of war with your own emotions by creating mental anguish for yourself, trying to get answers that you already have the answers to, which confuses your mind, which lets you stay in places where you don't belong for longer than you're supposed to be there for. And that's why this breakup or this separation or this tower is so impactful and hurtful. It's because you were not facing the facts. And the fact of the matter is that you ignored some warning signs. And you are learning that when you take responsibility for the actions that you played and how you're not a victim, but you are an active player in your own game, you will start to learn the lesson and not repeat the lesson. I feel like you're getting to that point, Gemini. I feel like you want more now. And before you wanted more with someone else, but now you want more of you. And you're realizing the importance of solitude. And it's hurtful because I feel like this is an energy of someone who pulls oracle cards. This is an energy of someone who is on a constant spiritual journey. This is an energy of someone who loves nature, who loves natural things, someone who loves the natural selection of the universe and how it works and how one action triggers the next. But in the same breath, you are annoyed by it because the universe works on its own time, and the things that you want doesn't always mean that you're going to have it when you want it. Especially when you're healing and the things that you want just aren't great for you. So you keep learning the lessons over and over again and having to be re-inspired by your pain and suffering. And that's why the cycle kept happening. But I feel like what your ultimate lesson that you learned from this connection, Gemini, is that you can't rush a connection. not with anyone or anything. You cannot rush a connection. And you have to be in the right mindset. Your heart has to be in a settled place before you bring anyone into your energy again. Because I feel like you still are dealing with the loss of the past. You're still going through the healing motions. Spirit, in closing, what messages do you have for Gemini before we close this reading out regarding what Gemini learned from their last connection? And Gemini, you have to not cover up the way that you feel by saying, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay all the time. You have to address your feelings. I feel like some of you have journals and journals and journals, and you journal, but you're not writing the truth in your journal. Like, you're not writing a lie either. You're just vaguely writing things. Like, you're not going into depth about it. So what you learn from the last connection is that you can't rush the connection. So you have to be intimate with yourself now. You have to build a connection that is so strong with self that if anyone comes your way, they have to get to know you entirely, not just what's on the surface, to get to your heart and eventually to your soul. So you have to tap in and be more kind to your soul. You have to be more kind to your essence. You have to value your essence so much that it's offensive when people try to get it too soon. And essence is not just sex. Essence is time. Essence is conversation. Essence is chivalry. You want people to explain themselves, explain their essence, explain, like interviews, universal interviews, interview souls. Because there's a part of you that's still hurting. And that part of you is going to keep attracting the part of other people that's still hurting. And if you don't make peace with that part of you, you will not ask those soulful questions that need to be addressed before you go all in with mind, body, and soul. So in closing, Gemini, I feel like you have to realize your power and realize that this energy that you've been looking for from everywhere else resided in you the entire time. You have to realize that anything that you have lost before today was a donation to your cause and to your karma and to your universe, to expand your heart and your experience, to truly feel again. With this King of Wands energy, you rule with energy of love and compassion and empathy. And you're a natural provider of nurturing love. But if you feel for 1 second that you are lacking that love, you're going to attract variations of it in the shadows. You have to learn to lead without needing a blueprint of someone else to show you the way. Because you're a natural born leader, Gemini. You lead with purpose. And somewhere along the way, you took on this idea that you can't sustain right now on your own. And that is farthest from the truth. That is farthest from the truth. You have to build what you want to attract. If you want a kingdom, you got to build a queendom. You see how the King and the Queen of Wands, if you want this King of Wands energy in your life, you have to reflect that. And by doing so, you have to build that strength up again, that emotional intelligence. And you have to build up the courage to speak up even when it's uncomfortable. You have to build up those creative juices again. You have to create your own reality again and not depend on anybody to create that reality for you, as if you would want to ride someone's coattail for them to show you your happiness and where it resides when it's within you. You cannot put these responsibilities on anybody else. These are your responsibilities, and you dare not touch another connection until you realize your power and use that power by creating the reality that you want to live in, as opposed to trying to invite that reality in. You are the reality. I feel like your mind is your biggest adversary, and it was your biggest adversary in your last connection. A lot of the times when you would believe things that weren't true, you weren't listening to your intuition. So you would allow situations to unfold on their own, and then have an aha moment after the fact, when you had that high priestess energy within you the entire time. Gemini, it's time for you to build your empire, your spiritual empire. So what you lost in your last relationship was your north. You gave up your mental freedom to take on someone else's take on what freedom looks like. You gave up your peace. You gave up your natural essence. And you need not to do that anymore. And until you realize that your natural essence is what brings the world to you, you won't have to do much moving. All you have to do is just shift your thinking, Gemini. All right? So that's all that I have for you, Gemini, for now. Love and light, and we'll talk soon. Tribe.